This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
Even though the frequency of the violent and bloody attacks has decreased, it is ever present in the daily life of Iraqis. 8 people, among them a child, met their faith, and 20 others were wounded by a suicide car bomber who targeted a morning army patrol unit in Anbar province in the middle of Fallujah, west of the capital, Baghdad. The explosion caused the damage of 17 civilian cars and a number of commercial stores. In addition to the shifting violent campaign, the numbers coming out of the polls are also Iraq's main topic of discussion. Partial results for the legislative elections are still showing a major headway for Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki's list, especially in the southern provinces. Al-Maliki's rival list, headed by former Prime Minister Iyad Alawi, took first place in the ethnically diverse city of Kirkuk. It also headed a large progress in the Sunni Anbar province. While waiting for the final results, it seems that all the possibilities for forming alliances are all still available, while the Kurds maintain a constant number. Fahima Mazani.
معركة الانتخابات العراقية انتقلت منذ أسبوع من صناديق الاقتراع.
The Iraqi election war moved a week ago from the polls to the sorting offices. The latest numbers revealed Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki's new advancement over his rivals. This time it was in the Basra province, which holds 24 parliamentary seats out of 325. An advancement that came at the expense of the Kurdish parties that maintained their historic dominance over the 3 Kurdish provinces, and in turn maintain their position in future alliances.
What will be accomplished is the result of the people's will in the polls. Whether al-Maliki wins or someone else, it is the people's will.
What we hope from this list or any other winning list is that it serves the people and offers them public services. If the people were loyal to them, then they too should be loyal to the people.
As the results reveal the winning lists, they also represent a poll on the popularity of the leaders of the various political parties. A poll that has created a coalition in 5 southern provinces in addition to Baghdad. Meanwhile, even the Iraqi list leads in 4 provinces, while the Kurdistan Alliance leads in 2 provinces. This ranking cannot be greatly changed by the final results. What will determine the future leadership of the country and the government will be found in the nature of the future alliances.
The preliminary results of the Iraqi elections do not present, until now, a precise view of the shape of the next parliament because of a lack of an overwhelming majority. In turn, the future coalitions are the ones that will determine that question. The 325 parliamentary seats are distributed in 4 regions, starting with Baghdad that holds 68 seats. As far as the Middle Euphrates regions and the south that have a Shiite majority, they will have 119 seats, 24 of them for Basra, the biggest southern city. As far as the northern and western region, they will have 82 seats, 31 of them for Mosul. The Kurdistan region will have 41 seats distributed among 3 provinces. What remains are 15 seats, 8 of them for minorities that will be distributed among the provinces, and finally 7 compensatory seats.
مقاعد تعويضية.
The Iraqi High Electoral Commission announced today more preliminary results of the legislative elections. The partial results show that the State of Law list has won in 5 provinces, while the Iraqi list has won in 4 provinces. In addition, both the National Coalition list and the Kurdistan Alliance have won in 2 provinces. The Iraqi political blocs are holding intensive meetings and dialogues in an attempt to explore the possibility of forming coalitions. The Iraqi list said that it has not made a decision on whether it will form a coalition or with whom it will form it. The Iraqi Accord list said that it has not made a definite decision regarding its participation in the upcoming government.
The political eyes of Iraq are focusing on the Kurdistan region. Many Iraqi politicians have repeatedly visited the region in an attempt to rally support among Kurdish voters, which seem to play an integral part in the formation of the next government. However, today's Turks are different than they were in 2005. Today, the Kurds are divided because of fundamental disagreements. Their differences don't allow them to raise the ceiling of expectation. The Kurds entered the race under 4 lists. The first list is the Kurdistan Alliance, which consists of the Kurdistan Democratic Party led by Masoud al-Barzani and the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan led by Jalal Talbani. The 2 parties are bound by an alliance agreement. The initial results are showing that Masoud al-Barzani is noticeably ahead of Talbani. The other list is the Change list, led by Nashirwan Mustafa. Mustafa said he will likely win 15 seats. Nashirwan split from Talbani's alliance and said he will not support Talbani's bid for the presidency. He added that he wants to share power with Talbani in the administration of the country's finances. There are other Kurdish lists, including the Islamic Union and the Islamic Jama'ah party. How will the makeup of the Kurdish alliance appear? They may either form a united Kurdish alliance or they may split into 2 rival coalitions. On one side, it will be the Change Party led by Nashirwan Mustafa and the Islamic Jama'ah Party, and on the other, it will be the Kurdistan Alliance. It remains to be seen whether the Arab list will form a coalition with the Kurdish list. The Kurdistan Alliance, which includes Nashirwan's coalition and the Islamic parties, is expected to win 13% of the votes. Having said that, al-Maliki will try to form a coalition with the Kurdistan Alliance in order to form the next government. This way, the Kurds will guarantee that they will take part in the leadership of Iraq. Otherwise, if they decide to split, the Kurdish parties will not have any stake in the presidential office. This will leave the door open for the awakening councils to join al-Maliki. The awakening councils are demanding a Sunni Arab leadership in Iraq.
In Lebanon, March 14, forces are stressing the need for protecting the country's independence. They've also urged the Lebanese to support the state at the time of regional and international turbulence. Our correspondent has the full story.
We're here in Beirut, Lebanon at Hotel Bristol, where the March 14th camp will be holding their 5th annual meeting. The meeting first took place 5 years ago after the death of former Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri. We're just about to go inside and see what's happening. The Lebanese political movement, March 14th, that was established on the same date in 2005, held its annual conference entitled Protecting Lebanon, a national Arab and international duty on Sunday. The focal point of the conference was a 7-point plan for protecting Lebanon, which encourages abiding by national dialogue resolutions and normal relations with Syria. The plan reiterates that any Israeli attack would be an attack on the entire country and calls for the full implementation of United Nations Resolution 1701, which ended the July 2006 war between Israel and Hezbollah.
First, the full implementation of the UN resolution and the 1701, the full implementation of the Lebanese constitution as a Ta'if agreement, and to be part of the Arabic world, to have the same vision concerning the conflict with Israel.
Other participants in the event tried to show that the coalition was in good shape, despite head of the Progressive Socialist Party, Wali Jamal, splitting from the movement in August of last year. And to the dismay of some in the coalition, Mr. Jamal on Saturday made a public apology for indecent comments he made in the past against Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian president.
I think today we are just meeting to renew our attachment to the principles that gathered that in the past.
Other analysts believe that the international resolutions have never been able to protect Lebanon from Israeli violations, and that the resistance is the only option left for the country to defend itself.
The only thing that did prove that the Israelis could understand or stop the Israelis from invading any country at any time was the Lebanese resistance by the Lebanese people, who decided that the only way that the Israeli government understands is the national resistance.
A statement last year by the unity government said it respected the right of Lebanon's army and its resistance to liberate Lebanese territory. And Prime Minister Saad Hariri himself has said he stands by the resistance. Lebanon maintains that Israel continues to occupy a portion of its territory, the Sheba Farms area. Serena Shim, Press TV, Beirut.
American Defense Secretary Robert Gates claims that Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates are willing to convince China to support new sanctions on Iran. Gates, who is on a visit to the region, said that the Obama administration will focus on new ways to increase pressure on Tehran. Meanwhile, Tehran called on the West to stop destabilizing the Persian Gulf region.
بين دول الخليج الفارسي يتنقل وزير الخارجية الأمريكي روبرت غيتس في
American Defense Secretary Robert Gates is inciting against Iran in its peaceful nuclear program. This comes after Secretary of State Hillary Clinton failed to accomplish a similar mission and also failed to get the support of the UN Security Council. Gates felt compelled to predict that Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates would convince China to support sanctions against Tehran. Gates, who visited Riyadh and Abu Dhabi, said that the two countries are ready to use their influence to convince Beijing to support new sanctions on Tehran. Gates said that this is how he feels. He also said that the two countries can also play the same role with Russia. Political observers, however, believe this to be a failed mission.
في مهمة اعتبرها المراقبون فاشلة.
This is the U.S. last attempt, and Gates realizes this attempt will fail. Of course, the U.S. wants to pressure Iran, both by exerting pressure on it and by claiming that other countries in the region share the American view of Iran.
Iran views these American attempts as a conspiracy aimed at causing division between the countries of the region. President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad responded by demanding that the West end their destabilization of the Persian Gulf region and called on countries in the region to take charge of their own security and stability.
My advice to my brothers in the Persian Gulf is, don't be fooled by the intimidation of superpowers and don't fear their armies. These armies are only interested in achieving their own interest. What are these forces doing in our region? Why did you send your armies to our region? If you think that you can control the oil in Iraq or the Persian Gulf, you are wrong, because our young men will cut off your hands.
The Iranian president also talked about oil, since Gates is exerting pressure on countries in the Persian Gulf to promise China that they will provide all of its oil needs, which are currently imported from Iran, if it agrees to support the new sanctions against Iran. Gates also talked about ways to strengthen the defense system of these countries in the face of Iran's ballistic missiles. If states in the Persian Gulf realize that security can only be achieved by staying united, then Gates will go back empty-handed, just like Secretary of State Clinton, who tried a similar mission during her last visit to the region.
Israeli occupation forces have increased security measures in and around the Old City of Jerusalem in anticipation of new clashes between Palestinians and Jewish extremist groups who are planning to inaugurate the reopening of Al-Khirba synagogue.
The Jews believe that the reconstruction of Al-Khirba will lead to the building of the so-called Temple Mount on the ruins of the sacred Al-Aqsa Mosque. The reconstruction of the synagogue carries dangerous implications. It is part of an Israeli plan aimed at targeting Al-Aqsa Mosque and Judifying Jerusalem.
Our Al Jazeera correspondent, Ilyas Karam, wandered around the streets of the Old City of Jerusalem and prepared the following report.
For the fourth straight day, the noble sanctuary has been placed under a tight security siege by the Israeli occupation forces. Thousands of police officers and members of the Israeli elite force were deployed in and around the Old City, including at the gates of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Israeli forces staged military checkpoints around Jerusalem and prevented men under the age of 50 from entering the Al-Aqsa compound to pray. The security measures were elevated to their highest point before a state of emergency was declared. The closure has disrupted the daily life of Jerusalemites and made them alter their travel plans.
The measures have disrupted our daily life. It has complicated our life. It's affecting everything, including the way we pray.
They are making it hard for anyone to go in and out, no matter where they are going.
The tight security measures were taken to counter the boiling state of anger among the Palestinian public over the settlements and the Judification campaign currently underway in Jerusalem. The preemptive measures also come in anticipation of Arab confrontations over the inauguration of Al-Khirba Jewish synagogue in a Jewish neighborhood of the Old City. Israeli police have prevented Jews and foreign tourists from entering the noble sanctuary. They have also refused to grant a permit to a group of Jewish extremists who hold a traditional march on the first of each Hebrew month by walking by the walls of the Old City. Meanwhile, an Islamic group said that they did not oppose the idea of a synagogue as a religious shrine. Rather, they opposed its connotation, which aims to target Jerusalem and Al-Aqsa Mosque.
The problem has nothing to do with the building of a synagogue. However, the plan violates our rights and intrudes on our holy shrines. This has to do with the religious extremism that is being promoted in this holy city. They are planning to build the so-called Temple Mount on the ruins of Al-Aqsa Mosque. This is extremism, which no one will condone. The Muslims will not allow anyone to target their holy shrines.
The synagogue extracted its name, Al-Khirba, from being the target of torching incidents over the course of history. However, it continued to bear witness to the religious freedom that was enjoyed by non-Muslims under the reign of the Islamic Caliphate. The synagogue was blown up by the Jordanian army in 1948. Jewish extremists believe that its reconstruction will set the foundation for the so-called Third Temple Mount over the ruins of the sacred Al-Aqsa Mosque. Amidst the existing state of affairs which Israel is trying to impose in Jerusalem through its settlement projects and Judification process, the recent conflict over Jerusalem has been religiously motivated. Some believe that this religious conflict is complicating one of the main conflicts of the region. Ilyas Karam, Al Jazeera, occupied Jerusalem.
Freedom for Gaza is the theme of the movement initiated by the people of Gaza in order to break the Israeli siege.
After 1,000 days, Gaza is still under siege, but instead of cursing at its darkness, Gaza lit 1,000 candles to face it, rejecting the plans of the besiegers. The siege tightens the noose on the necks of the people, blocks out the light with darkness, and every other day takes away the life of an innocent person whose only sin was their refusal to surrender.
1,000 days of unfair siege is enough. and freedom for Gaza and Palestine. These are our slogans. We want everyone to participate with everything they have to put pressure on the Israeli occupation, from the officials and parliamentarians to the organizations and citizens. We shall form a pressing power composed of Palestinians, Arabs, Muslims, and the international community to end this siege imposed on a besieged people.
The siege of the arrogant imposers did not only include cutting off the supply of food and material necessities, cutting off gas and electricity, denying the sick outside treatment. It even banned medicine and medical supplies from getting transported into the Strip.
There are more than 600 people in need of treatment, and more than 100 sick people in need of operations, and more than 50 sick individuals in need of kidney transplants. Up until today, not all of the equipment works, and we need more than 25 new dialysis machines to update the ones that we have. The supplies needed for medical treatment are not sufficiently available.
Here, in a square that was beautiful at one time, Gaza residents set up a memorial for the victims of the siege and built a collective tomb for the hundreds of factories that collapsed because of it. The siege has reached its 1,000-day anniversary, and people hope not to have to commemorate another one. But in reality, there may be a second, third, and even fourth due to the current situation. This reality is evident. The besiegers want to keep Gaza under their shadow. In streets and in between the alleys, the effects of the siege are apparent to every passerby, and the despair remains even though it has taken on many new faces.
We are suffering the consequences. A young man goes out without even 1 shekel in his pocket. A young girl goes to school without any money to even buy a sandwich. This is the kind of life we're leading. They have all the comfort. As for us, we have all the sorrow. Is this not a crime? We are being buried alive. We're not really living. They ignore us and continue to surprise us by their lengthy assault on us.
They left Gaza, trapped us in, and imprisoned us. They're still closing in on us from all directions. The land, the sea, there is no water. We don't even get water at home. The water has been cut off, so has the electricity. Our life is very close to death.
Will they prolong the siege? Is there going to be another 1,000 days?
Another 1,000 days? No, maybe another 20 years when everybody will be dead. Let the officials stay comfortable right where they are.
So, from their position of power, the accomplices to the crime sit, while Gazans remain on their land and invest themselves in it, even though they are certain that this land will remain besieged for another 1,000 days. Mohammed Al-Madoun, New TV, Gaza, Palestine.
Cairo has rejected the criticism levied in the U.S. State Department report in regards to the state of human rights in Egypt. Egyptian Foreign Ministry spokesman Hossam Zaki said during an interview with the BBC that the report is not binding for Egypt. The American criticism focused around what the report described as Egypt's poor performance in improving the condition of human rights. Report by Amir Abdelhamid from Cairo.
Once again, the Egyptian Foreign Ministry is facing sharp American criticism about issues related to human rights violation in Egypt. In a scene that resembles the one that took place a few years ago, the criticism was met with an official and complete rejection. These infamous online videos are sometimes used by human rights organizations whenever they want to prove what they describe as the Egyptian police's illegal practices. It's the same issue that is criticized in the U.S. State Department report on Egypt. The government, according to the report, captures and detains citizens for an extended period of time without trial. In addition, it ignores religious freedom and does not defend the Copts in facing what it described as repetitive attacks on them. This last point in particular was not included in any previous report. Egyptian diplomats did not bother with everything that was in the new report, but they considered it to be non-binding.
This report is not binding. We do not think it has any binding characteristics for Egypt or other countries. Egypt deals according to internationally recognized conventions and is comfortable with its current record and it tries to improve it. I think that the criticism is normal. We are also able to criticize the U.S. on its own human rights record.
Perhaps it was a mere coincidence the release of the U.S. State Department report this year comes at a time when a new factor has already been added to the sectarian tension in Egypt. A tension that shows its face every once in a while in El Saidi, in Alexandria, and in Cairo. But it finally showed up in Mersa Metro, leaving behind dozens of injured. For this reason and others, the American report is welcomed by some Copt activists.
Egypt refuses to grant women their rights. It refuses to grant the Copts their rights as represented by religious freedom. Yesterday, there was a massacre in Mersa Matruh following the construction of a wall in the church services building. Where is the religious freedom? Why does it then reject the American report? The American report highlights documented events. Instead of rejecting it, fix what's wrong.
What is striking is that the criticism directed at Egypt for its human rights record in the past few years used to be, at times, justified by the tense relations between Cairo and Washington during the administration of previous U.S. President George W. Bush. After a noticeable improvement in these relations, and according to human rights activists, today's criticism implies that the current American administration does not approve of the situation, or reveals the fact that such matters don't usually affect the relations that exist between countries.
Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/Mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. network dedicated to global and national news, uncompromising documentaries, and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.